Okay, this is just ridiculous. This was a joke. I was just playing around with you guys. I'm Douglas from Other Than Intended Purpose, and today I'm doing a little bit of a review on the Mora Eldris. And I was trying to be a little bit of a smartass here and bushcraft it by batoning some big logs, scraping a little bit with that sharp spine and doing a couple of feathers on there. But that's just too ridiculous. This knife, well, first I want to say this thing came sharp as hell. I've been using this now. I got this for Christmas. It is now January
17th, I think.
17th. I've been using this since Christmas to January 17th for opening boxes, for cutting stuff around my cave, for doing whatever. 15th?
Yeah, it's Sunday and last Friday was the 13th.
Okay. That works too. This thing came ridiculously sharp. I mean, it's just monster sharp. But I'm not 100% sure where it's going to fit in in blades that I intend to use for things. One of the problems is, now I've heard people say that they want to carry this as a neck knife. Now this is a little bit bulkier. This is my neck knife. There's a lot more handle to that. There's a lot more weight to it. The blades are very similar.
Yeah.
Other than the shape of them, the blades are very similar. And up on the spine, they're even actually similar in thickness. But this weighs a lot more.
You'd notice a lot more hitting you in the chest.
And the only way that I can see, because this one, I know there's a kit that you can get that turns this into a neck knife, and it's got a hanger thing with a strap that goes over it and all kinds of stuff. But this is exactly how it came to me. And the only way I can see to make a necker out of it is to put some paracord through the drainage holes. Take that up where they can see that it's got these two drainage holes in the bottom of it. And I did try that at the house, and paracord will fit through those, but that makes it hang upside down on your neck. And the retention's good now, but I've had Moras before where the retention was this good, and in a year or so it's not quite that good. So as I said, this would be kind of bulky hanging here when I'm used to this very lightweight, slender piece of material here.
I could use it as a neck knife, but that's because I carry around a cell phone sized waterproof case as a necklace.
But
it would hardly add anything to
one
that
thing
for me.
about this that I think I mentioned in another video, but I want to say real quick. Most Moras, when you get them, the spine on them is round. I mean, you couldn't push them through soft butter very well. The spine is so round. This thing has got a spine sharper than some knives come from the store. I mean, that is freaking... I could make fluff with this easily. If I was trying to use this to do a fire, I wouldn't even need to do feathers. This fluff is like the underdown in it for a goose. I mean, that's soft. It's tight, it's thin as heck. That's beautiful. But for the most part, I think what this is going to wind up being is I think this is going to wind up in my carving kit.
Fluffing thinner than a hand plane.
Now, in my carving kit, I've got one of the Mora hook blades, and I've got a carving jack, which has several different smaller hook blades in it, and a straight knife, but the straight knife on it's a little bit small for some tasks. So I'm thinking that this is probably going to wind up in my carving kit. But as for quality, like I said, I've been using this now for a couple weeks. It is still razor sharp, even though I've used it to cut cardboard. I've used it to cut plastic sheeting.
He's used it to cut this.
I've horsed around with some wood, and I mean, I've got really big hands. I'm barely getting a third finger on that. You know, if I put my thumb up where it goes, I'm really not getting my third finger on that at all. And I'm still going through this like I had a handle on it to grab a hold of. I mean, it's cutting like butter, except when I hit the knot. There we go.
Hey, it even cut the knot pretty easily.
No more knot. But this is a really good quality blade. It's got a really unique grind on it where you've got the standard Mora Scandi down here, but then it's got a secondary bevel up here that makes the profile a little bit thinner. So if you're trying to do the thin chopping...
Hey, you can make your tent stakes with that.
Yeah. If you're trying to do thin work at the very tip, it thins the blade down that secondary bevel there. See if you can see that. Can you see that?
Just a second. Zooming in on the knife. Tilt it towards me. Bottom toward seal. Yeah. Now you can see it.
Okay. Now go back to the way it was. That makes that leading edge really fine, so you can do some finer work. The only problem I'm having with trying to do it is control, because I'm used to having a lot more geometry behind the blade, because I wear a extra large leather glove, and generally most of the time I have to stretch them out a little bit to make them comfortable. I got big old hands, so. But if you're thinking about getting this as a neck knife, consider the fact that it's got quite a bit of weight to it. Did I? I did. I wrote down statistics. I'm good. This is 12C27 stainless steel. It has an overall length of 5.6 inches, a blade length of 2.2 inches, blade thickness of 0.8 of an inch, and it weighs 2.8 ounces, plus the sheath. That's kind of heavy for a neck knife for most people, and it's kind of thick for a neck knife. So I want to give it as a comparison with something that a lot of people know about. Now this is another brand new knife to me. It's a BK2, but for people who don't have a BK2 around or haven't had one in their hands, a lot of people have had the Schrade SCHF 36, the 5-inch Schrade. This is very close in statistics to that Schrade size-wise. So that will give you an idea of the thickness and the bulk.
Look at the spine. Compare the two spines real quick.
Okay, comparing the two spines is silly because that's a really, really thick knife there. This is a 1/4 inch of steel. And there again, a lot of people think this is a little bit too beastly for.
So that would make that an 1/8 or 1/16 or something like that, wouldn't it?
This is 0.8 of an inch. This is 0.25.
Yeah. Something
0.125 is an 1/8 of an inch.
Something about that is weird because you just said 0.8 of an inch. That's not almost an inch thick.
No, 0.08. 0.08.
I'm glad I got that.
There's this thing that people do. I've heard. I'm telling stories here because it's not something I'm familiar with myself. Where they lay down and close their eyes and their brain turns off, and they make loud noises out of their nose. And if you're like his Uncle Charlie, out of both ends at the same time. And
it's
then,
true.
And then
Scary.
Then hours later, they like get up and they feel better and they're rested. Yeah, I should try that sometime. But anyway, getting back to the knife here. This came from the factory, amazingly sharp. Sharper than most of the big, expensive blades that I've had over the years. That spine is just phenomenal. I mean, like I said, you can make dust from that spine just smooth as silk. I do wish it had more carry options, because it really, unless you get the kit that has the neck option, the only way to make it a necker is to put the cord through the holes.
They should make it a belt one.
But if
clip.
it had, there's these little places here where that strap for the neck like snaps on when you push it on. If it came with a ring that snapped into place there, that had just a little belt clip on it, then this would be a lot more convenient. You could snap it to the front of a bag. Was that in frame? I don't even know if that was in frame. Now it is. You could snap it to the front of the bag instead of having to like shove it in. But or on your belt, on your LBE, load bearing equipment. Sorry. But as it is right now, it seems to me like it's just going to go into my carving kit. And my carving kit is going to be the star of its own video coming up here in a couple of months. I'm actually waiting for something to hit the market that hasn't yet. Don't want to give too much away though. But yeah, my summation on this, it is a very well-made knife that doesn't quite fit. It's not big enough to use for bushcraft. It's a little too big for a necker. It doesn't really have a way of carrying. I mean, this would actually be a really good everyday carry fixed blade if it had a belt clip, because it's small enough, especially if the belt clip maybe rotated, like the tops. A lot of the tops blades sheaths have that rotating clip on them. Something like that would be phenomenal.
So you could put it on and then pull back to take it out,
but
or
if you could
forward.
clip it sideways on your belt and just be able to take it out. I mean, but as it is right now, there's really not much of a good way to carry it. And for most of my purposes for a fixed blade knife, it doesn't quite fit. So, there's going to be people that don't like me saying that, because they're like, oh, the Eldris, it's a wonderful thing, I love it, I love it, I love it, ooh. Well, I'm glad you love it, I like it. I don't love it, I like it. It's a really well-made, small, sharp blade that just doesn't quite fit in my way of doing things. So like I said, this is actually going to be a good addition to my carving kit, because this is a better carving blade than the one that comes with my jack, my carving jack, my folding carver. So this is definitely going to be in my carving kit. So I hope you got a little bit of good information out of this video today. I hope the little batoning exhibition there made you laugh. Get out in the woods, have some fun. Do those things that make your life better, because life is way too short to do things that make it worse.
Unless you're a dwarf or a giant, and then it lasts for centuries.
Well, if you're a dwarf, everything's short. Well, you're short, but everything's big. Anyway. That thing with the laying down hasn't happened lately. If you like the video, throw a thumbs up at me. If you have any comments about it, be sure to put them down there. I will answer comments when I get them. If I upset you with the way I described it, that's okay. You can tell me you're upset, but do it nicely, because I don't like to get yelled at. Nobody likes to get, well, some people do like to get yelled at. I don't like to get yelled at. So you guys have a wonderful day.
Have fun.